Hi, welcome to Winging It and Winning, a podcast show where you will be motivated and encouraged to follow your dreams. It's Veronica here, and I'm here with my brother Santiago. This is the second video to the first video where we recorded with my brother Steven, and he shared his journey to sobriety. And now I'm here with my brother Santiago, who we touched on a little bit during Steven's video. And he's here to share. We're going to both speak on how it was being the siblings to a brother who was addicted to drugs, and also have a mother who was addicted to drugs. So Santiago and I are just here to share our journey and how we helped each other, and how he felt having to be the older brother. So everyone help me in welcoming my brother Santiago.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you, bro. I'm so excited because like I said earlier with Steven, it's a lot of people ask, why do this podcast? And it's kind of because I want to show people that no matter where you come from or what background you have, you can always, choose differently than what you were raised and how you were brought up.
Absolutely.
And I think that you and I both did that despite what was around us. We both chose a different path. And so that's why there's a lot of siblings in this world who are in our situation where they have to deal with their mom or with their brother addicted to drugs. And I know it was hard for me, but I luckily had you to lean on. And as I'm older, I realized that you didn't have anyone really to lean on because you were always the one to handle everything. So how was that, if you can speak a little bit, how was that for you when you realized Steven was addicted to drugs?
It was hard. But for whatever reason, I did grow up a little bit more mature, and I was able to. I always wanted to be in control and deal with it by taking control of the situation. I'm glad I was able to deal with it the way I dealt with it, and the way I dealt with it was take control and take my time and think about what would be the next step to help my mom or help my brother out. And to guide them away from the drug addiction or from what, my everyday daily life was around drugs. I know I didn't want to be another statistic.
Basically.
Yeah. And so growing up, I think with Dad taking me to his side jobs and stuff helped me become more mature, and it showed me what I really want to do in life, what I want to be in life. And I think God has a plan for everybody, and God chose me to, he was setting me up for what was coming our way. Mm-hmm. And it helped out a lot because I knew that I didn't want to be in drugs. And of course we're growing up and we get into whatever we get into. But when Mom and Steven, got into drugs, I had to change up and realize that, they need me and you needed us, and me and Steven. Mm-hmm. I'm glad, Dad got you out of it. It was never something that I dwell on now. I'm just glad I was able to, my mind was right to where I was able to help Mom and Steven out through their drug addiction. Mm-hmm. It's an ugly thing to see, especially when it's your mom and your brother.
Yeah.
Growing up now that I see pictures of me and Steven growing up, and I just couldn't imagine him being back in the drugs or Mom, It's an ugly thing to see. Yeah. But I was just glad and happy that I was blessed enough to have my mind right that, they need me. And, and I was there for them, and whatever I could help them out with, whether it was paying people off that Mom owed money to, or going from door to door looking for Steven to get him, sometimes we wouldn't see him for weeks and months at a time. And, I figure, if we don't get my brother out of this and stay on top of him, we're going to lose him to the drugs. Something that has to do with drugs, But, I always kept my head up high and stayed strong, because I wasn't going to let it go and just lose him to drugs. But we did, I did what I could with what I had,
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, I think that you never gave up in looking, and you were kind of like Dad's assistant in that regard. Santi, it was always you and Dad trying to figure out where Steven was. I was too young at that time to even, think about that. You guys always had it handled. And at the same time, you were also helping Dad raise me with when I moved to Dad's, you were with us too. And, just helping Dad because Stephen wasn't around. He was in at that time Teen Challenge after he went to Teen Challenge. And I look at pictures now and a lot of milestones like high school pictures and my graduation, Stephen wasn't there because he was in rehab. Yeah. But you were there. You're always there. Santiago's like my biggest cheerleader and Stephen is too. Very much. My brothers support me and I'm so lucky. I'm very lucky. I don't know how I got so fortunate. And but you know, bro, I just want you to know that I really appreciate everything you've done for me because I think I even look at old cards and I was going through my pictures the other day and I saw your letter when you surprised me because I got an internship to Washington and you're like, this is a surprise. You know, Santiago has always been there to show me how proud he was because he understood I think you understood what it took to get where we're at.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's hard to overcome the how can I say, like the feelings of everything and not having the whole family there to support each other. But so that's why, you know, it's important for us to support each other in everything we do, whether it's, you know, a pat on the back or like, you know, a card or little things like that go a long way. Mm-hmm. And you know, when you're fighting addiction, it brings more joy. That little bit brings more joy to the person who's fighting the addiction. But you know, we got to just continue to support each other no matter what the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did it feel like, because I was telling Stephen, you know, you and Stephen went through a lot with Mom and Dad because when they divorced, I was already like in second grade, but you guys were in fifth or sixth grade. Like you guys were already teenagers, you know? Yeah. And so you guys had to endure a lot more than I did because I was still young. And I was telling Stephen, I remember when Mom and Dad were married, like I would always walk on eggshells because, you know, Dad drank a lot. But I only had to live through that for a short amount of time, you know. But at the end of the day, there's unconditional love. Like we hold no resentment towards Mom or Dad for whatever issues they put us through.
Yeah, no, I don't at all. Growing up with them, my biggest fear was coming home to see them argue. So you know, he had his drinking addiction back in the day, but you know, Dad always stayed on top of his work and took care of the family and make sure we had a roof over our head as well as Mom. But I think my biggest fear was, you know, coming home to them arguing or fighting. And, you know, even on the weekends, everything would wake up happy. And then by the time, you know, towards the end, they're arguing. And that kept me on my eggshells also. And I think the biggest relief that we had was that they did separate. Yeah. You know, that was a big relief. Thankfully, you know, when I turned 17, when I was 16, 17, Dad told me, you know, I'm going to buy a house. I want you guys to come live with us. And he said that, and sure enough, he said, hey, we're ready to move in. And he stopped drinking cold turkey. Cold turkey, just stopped drinking and changed his life around. And so, you know, people can change. Addiction's all in your mind. You know, it's all in the head. And if you really want to change, you could change. It's harder for others, but there's help out there for people to make that change. But growing up, it was hard to see them argue, you know, and I think that's another thing that made me my mentality, who I am today or who I have been, going through the situation with Mom and Stephen to make me a stronger person, was going through that, you know, because I was always the middle kid in between the arguments. I would try to get up and protect Mom, and then I would, you know, push Dad away, and, you know, but it made me who I think, you know, I was just being set up for this whole deal with the drugs with Mom and Stephen. You know, I think God had a plan for me already way ahead of the years of what was coming our way. Yeah. So that made me who I was, made me stronger, and it helped me deal with what I had to deal with Stephen and Mom. Yeah. You know, so.
I remember feeling bad because I remember one instance where Mom and Dad were already divorced at this point, and we were at Tita Ann's, and I spoke earlier on the dynamics of Tita Ann's home, Grandma's home, and how I always thought like it was a home for divorced women, you know, because Grandma had she was like the queen of the house, so she had her master bedroom, but Tita Ann, Tita Terry, and Mom at one point all lived there together, and they all had their room for their family. And I remember Dad coming to get us, and he was mad, or Mom wanted her child support. and dad, put you in the middle, and you were holding a stereo. I don't know. You were fixing your car? I don't know
what. In the garage.
Yeah, you were fixing something. You had a stereo.
It was a Walkman.
Was it a Walkman?
Yeah.
Okay, it was a Walkman, and you were in the doorway in the garage, and mom was telling you to go tell dad something, and you're like, but my dad just told me this, and you grabbed the Walkman you had and you slammed it, and I felt your pain at that point and frustration.
Yeah, I think it wasn't that dad was put in the middle. I think it was more of mom putting me in the middle, because at the time mom was on really bad with drugs. So it wasn't that it was mom. It wasn't mom. It was the drug. It was the addiction.
Yeah.
And so I was more frustrated with the addiction, because I loved mom. Mom, growing up, mom's my best friend, and I love mom. Mm-hmm. So I don't put the blame on her. I put the blame on the addiction. But growing up as a kid, I would always remember breaking my tools. I mean, my toys when I would get upset, when I would get mad. When mom and dad would argue, I'd get mad, and I'd break my toys. Or if I didn't get my way, I would break my toys. And at that point, I think I was already, I want to say 12, about 12 years old, because mom and dad, they separate when I was 11. Mm-hmm. So I was about 12 years old, I want to say. And it just came out of nowhere. And it was my way of showing my mom that now I'm mad.
Yeah, you're frustrated.
Here, now just stop. That's was the way I had to show her. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, it was frustrating to deal with that, because dad was doing what he could. He was always made sure that we had what we had with child support and all that stuff. But I think, what would upset me more would be we'd see mom when we got picked up, then we see her when we got dropped off, and then we didn't see her the whole week. Mm-hmm. And then, it was time to go with dad. And then, so, that's, unfortunately, that's the way we kind of grew up most of the years. Even after you left, I was still growing up like that. And Tita Ann was there to make sure we were in school, we were dressed, we were ready to go. We, took her to our practices, took us to our baseball practice and all that. And I thank her very much for that. But I think that enabled mom to go off and do what she wanted to do, because she knew that
Tita Ann was there
to pick it up and take care of us. Mm-hmm. And but like I said, that if mom was in her right state of mind and not on the addiction, I don't think that she would have left us like that. Because mom did do good by her side, and with the club, the Pride Unlimited, club, and try to keep the youth out of trouble. But at the same time, she was doing what she was doing. So
yeah, now me and my brother joke a lot, and it's the way, I guess it's our way of coping with the mess that we've encountered. But I mean, like Santiago said, my Tita Ann was there to pick up the slack, and I think she knew, like, if she didn't, no one else would. And thankfully, she never gave up on my mom. But back to what you were saying is, and I said this earlier too, is that we didn't blame mom. We knew mom was a good person.
Absolutely.
We knew that mom, before my mom was addicted to drugs, she was very sharply dressed all the time. I think I get my fashion sense from mom, to be honest. Like, my mom always looked nice. She always knew how to dress. She always carried herself with such charisma, and she was always so friendly, and everybody loves my mom. Till this day, everyone loves her. And she, before she got addicted to drugs, we would have mother-daughter dates. We would have, she instilled those kind of things at a very young age. So I knew what it was like to have my mom, and to know what it felt like to have mother-daughter dates, and to have, my mom there to show me how to do my hair and stuff like that. I didn't have her my high school years or junior high years. But I did have her, like, early on, from born till I was like, what, 6 or 7 when she started using drugs?
Yeah, so I was 11.
So around 7.
They split it when you were 7. So yeah, after that, a little bit after that, mom always made the best of it with us. Whether she was on
drugs or not,
she made the best of it. She's the, when her and dad split up, I didn't want to. I loved dad, and I wanted to be with dad, but I felt like I had to protect mom. I had to be there with mom. Mm-hmm. So growing up, mom taught me, the whole, mom had to be a mom and dad, because dad was always working. We get him on the weekends, go with the weekends with them, but she had to be mom and dad throughout the week. Mm-hmm. And she taught me a lot, and growing up, we learned from watching our parents, and what their situation are. Okay, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to argue with them like that. But things happen, and you're either gonna go follow that direction, or you're gonna break the chain and follow another direction. And but thank God, Mom and Stephen, they're sober now, and mom's still the same mom. She's very outgoing, and everybody loves Mom, and Mom loves everybody, and she's the mom we had when we were kids. Now she's the mom we had when we were kids.
Yeah. But
we did lose a lot of years with her due to the addiction, as well as with Stephen. Stephen came a long way. His addiction. I mean, I remember being asleep and getting a knock on the door that Stephen's been arrested for drugs, and it was terrible. I believe Isaiah was like 1 year old, and I had my baby. I had Isaiah, so I was had Isaiah. Started working when I was 17. Being a young father at 21, and then even before that, with Mom, and then 21 came, 22 came, 25 came, 30 came, and I'm still dealing with Mom and Stephen on addiction,
Yeah.
And not only the addiction, but now it's like, hey, your mom owes money to these people.
Oh my gosh.
They said they're going to come back,
We
and they're
should
looking
tell that
for
story.
her.
That was crazy.
Yeah, and it was okay. Well, I'm not going to leave my mom high and dry. Like I'm going to pay this debt off, and I'll have a talk with Mom later on it, and so I did, and it was just terrible on the people my mom was getting involved with.
Yes.
It's like, Mom, these people don't play, so, but the money wasn't worth to me anything than Mom's safety, and, but it's no joke, it's addiction could get you deep, deep, deep into trouble.
And so back to that story though, I remember because I picked up my mom. She was ready to get help and she wasn't feeling good. So she asked me to pick her up. What happened was she was withdrawing. She had the chills, she didn't feel good at all. So I picked her up from this apartment and brought her to my house because she was going to start living with me. This was in 2009. My mom told me that this guy was looking for her. And the guy called my mom, and I grabbed the phone and I told the guy, like, leave her alone. What are you doing? Like, you're ruining families. Like, look at my mom. You have her sick here. And he was like, this is what I have to do. And I'm over here just telling him, like, can't you just like do something else for a living? What are you doing? Just trying to give him a spiel that he doesn't have to sell drugs and ruin families. And I was so mad at him. But anyways, he's like, well, your mom owes me this money, so you need to figure it out. And I was like, what the heck? And I called Santiago and I'm like, hey, bro, this guy, this is his number. Call him. He's saying Mom owes him money. And Santiago was livid. Like, sister, don't be talking to anybody Mom talks to. Again, Santiago went into protection mode. And he's like, but Santiago was mad. You've always been like, let me handle it. Don't talk to them. You don't want to get involved with them.
Yeah, it was an ugly feeling. So yeah, I did make that phone call and we did talk, and I did meet up with him to get him money, and it was an ugly situation. I think that happened like twice, two different people. It is what it is, and we just had to deal with it, move on, and start approaching things a different way when it came to Mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thankfully, like now we're all able to talk about this and kind of make light of it now that we're all safe and out of harm's way. And my mom is doing great, and Stephen is doing great, thankfully, and. So I think all those hardships made our bond a lot closer and a lot better because like Santiago said, he feels like everything he's experienced prepared him to be able to handle what he was going to experience with my mom and Stephen. And I feel the same way. Like everything I've experienced growing up has been a blessing because I've been able to learn from other people's mistakes also. And also what I've experienced has built my characters, made me who I am, and I couldn't be more grateful for those bad situations that we've been put in. Yeah. And for me, what prevented me from trying drugs as a kid is the DARE program, because I saw what the educators were showing us, and I was hearing what they were telling us, but I also saw real hand, like what was happening, and they were telling me exactly what was happening in our family. So I was like, this is no joke. That's another reason why I stay away from drugs, because I know that I'm more susceptible to becoming addicted to drugs because addiction runs in our family.
Yeah, I think any drug you touch and it makes you feel a certain way, you're going to get addicted, And like I said, it's all in your mind, you know. So if you're gonna disrespect yourself and give yourself that chance to take that drug and possibly know what the outcome is, then you're already addicted, you know. So
yeah, let's talk a little bit though, like on the importance of extended family, because I want people to know that like in our family, anyways, for me, my aunts, not my tia Diane, not only my tia Diane, but my tia Terry, my tia Chelo, my tia Lourdes, my tia Laura, my tio Pancho, my tio Chava, like so many extended family, our aunts and uncles had something to do with my upbringing anyways. My brothers were a little bit older, they were more independent. But for me, like having all of these extended family members step in when my mom couldn't, or when my dad had to work and my aunt had to pick me up from school, or my uncle, like having all of this help from extended family members really made a difference in my life. Even my mom's friend, who's now my Nina, I call her Nina, she would pick me up, and she wasn't using drugs, but she knew my mom was, but she would still pick me up from time to time to send me, to take me with her, to get her out of that, to get me out of that environment, so I can spend time with my sister. I call her my sister Jackie. And she just had like, it's like those adults that see something going on and they cared enough to help. Like, I just want to like talk a little bit on how important that is, that when we see kids in distress, or when we see kids who may not be offered a certain experience, kind of taking them out of their toxic environment for a couple hours, or exposing them to something new, like how big of a difference that makes.
Yeah, it absolutely makes a real big difference. I mean, that you're getting out of your I don't want to say comfort zone, but you're getting out of your zone where you're too comfortable, and you're getting used to the way that household is living, or who's around, or arguments, or drugs, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And if you go somewhere where it's calm, it's clean, there's no drugs. I mean, it's just a totally different environment. And it shows them that, hey, you know what, there is different families that live differently from this. This is not normal,
mm-hmm. And factors that contribute to us being successful, I think, is also having those friends and family. Yeah. Who was it for you? Like, did anyone besides who I mentioned, like, who helped you kind of like see different?
It was, I turned to work a lot. So I always wanted to be with Dad, because he was a different person. When we worked, he was more like, he was guiding me and teaching me. He was my, teaching me as a role model, but there's a few people that were still either selling drugs or were on drugs, that I would turn to for guidance when it came to, hey, you know what, this and that. And they'd get on me because they didn't want me to follow those footsteps that they were going through, and one of them's Martha, my Aunt Martha. We call her our Aunt Martha, but she was one to put me in check when I needed to be put in check, and even though she was living the life she was living, she always made sure to say, "Nuh-uh, Santi, you ain't doing that. You got a good future ahead of yourself, and get your butt to work with your dad, or." Cousin Jose, rest in peace. He wanted me to get my ass home. Excuse my language, but those were his words, And but as far as the extended family on my side would be, I would give it to Tia Ann, because she's the one that, man, we would walk for an hour, 2 hours just to practice. But she would make sure that, hey, we're gonna stop at Circle K, get your Gatorade, get your chips, snacks. And we're walking to practice, rain or shine.
Yep.
And so that, I would have to say that she was the one that proved that there's no excuses, and, other than that, I would turn to work. I would love to be at work, because when I'm at work, all my problems are gone. Yeah. And growing up with Dad, even though I was 13, 14 years old, the problems at home, seeing Mom on drugs, or there's be times where I wouldn't see Mom for 3, 4, 5 days. Mm-hmm. But when I go to work with Dad, all my problems would just disappear, and I'd deal with them when I get back home, Mm-hmm. But so that's where my extended part of the family would be Tia Ann, the one that I turned to. Growing up around the drugs, and of course, I mean, I was growing up, I have gang member friends. I still have gang member friends, but I never, got into the gangs. I grew up dressing like a little cholillo and stuff like that, but that's our culture. That was part of my culture, but it's all on how you represent it. A lot of friends in Moreno Valley, that different neighborhoods, different gangs, and I respect them all the same. They all respect me the same. And a lot of them actually helped me. At one point, I rounded up about 10 guys, and we went looking for Steven one day. And I went to a house, and they sent me to a mattress place. Went to the mattress place. They seen me on camera. I know now. Literally, I guess he told me he jumped on this mattresses, and he was all the way on top, hiding from me. I wasn't there to cause any panic or to jump on him. I just wanted him home safe, because I think we didn't see him for like 2 or 3 weeks, and this whole time I was looking for him. And then finally somebody told me where his car was at. So and we went to this house and knocked on the door. And when they opened the door, I asked for Steven. Hey, where's my brother? Well, he's not here. So yeah, they told me he was here. His car's outside. And I just peeked my hand. I mean, there was kids there too, little kids everywhere. And I peeked my head inside, and I seen Steven. He looked dead. He looked dead on the couch, laid out, like anybody could did anything to him, and he just wouldn't know. And so the guy tried to close the door on me. I kicked the door open, and all my friends rushed up, and I mean, we got him out of there. He got up, seen what was going on. He jumped in his car, hit the mailbox, and took off. And I said, you know what? That's fine. I'm not going to chase him. At least we know he's not. We're looking for him. He knows. And and as soon as we all get back to our cars, the garage opens up. A bunch of guys come out. We thought we were going to start rumbling, but no, a guy came out, say, hey, Santi, I'm sorry, man. We won't let him come back no more. You know what? We got a lot of respect for you guys, and, we're sorry. We try to tell him not to come, and he still comes. But, that just goes to show that, respect is a big thing. Whether the person or not, respect is a big thing in the streets, and it could help you out later on in the future, especially when they respect you enough that, hey, you know what, man, your brother's here and he's on drugs and he needs help, So I didn't give up on Steven, and he never knew what it was like to go through that until he got sober. And then mom relapsed and was on drugs, and mom was, from what we know, she was squatting and living from place to place. And, I think I didn't see mom for like 3 weeks. And so me and Steven went looking for mom, and we hit a couple different houses, and we found her. And the next day she called and she said, I'm ready for Teen Challenge.
Yeah.
And the next day, so when we started getting everything organized for her to go.
She lived with me. She didn't want to go to Teen Challenge. She was like, no, I can do it on my own. I made a deal. I said, you can stay here, but I can drug test you whenever I want.
Yeah, I remember.
And mom had, within a month or two, she had gotten a car. I had bought a little car for her off my friend, $1,000. It was a Toyota Corolla. My friend kept it really nice and clean. I bought it for mom. And I told my mom, you can have your car back, because I had taken it from her. And then I said, you can have your car. And you can, if you get a job, you can, as long as, if I suspect you're doing drugs again, I can drug test you. And she was all for it. And I think it was probably like, I don't know, I don't want to say maybe 6 months, 7 months. She was sober, but then she relapsed. And she lost, her car was wrecked left and right.
Yeah, it was after that.
She was missing, because she was missing work. And then all of a sudden she never had money to pitch in, because after she started working, she had to help pay rent. She didn't have money. And then she started asking me money for gas. I'm like, how do you work and have no money for gas? So I would not give her money. And then one day I noticed my gold rings were gone. And these rings were like rings that my tia Diane gave me that were grandma's. And then one probably you bought me. One was my quinceañera, or my 15th ring. They were meaningful. And so I noticed they were gone. So I went to the room. Mom was sleeping. I said, Mom, wake up. Where are my rings? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I said, take a drug test. And I had pulled out the drug test, and she came up, of course, with meth. And I said, I'm going to go to work. When I come back, I don't want you here. You need to leave. And I kicked her out. And while I was at work, Kevin, my fiance, he went to my house, and he switched out the locks for me. It was that day. Like, I did not hesitate. I was a big proponent of tough love. I think because you taught me that. and also what I learned in school. So my background in school is a bachelor's in human services with the emphasis of substance abuse. And my master's is in social work with the emphasis of mental health. And I learned that we have to have boundaries, and we cannot allow them to get away with their actions. My number one priority was to keep Freddie safe and to show Freddie that there's boundaries and there's rules. You don't follow the rules, this is what's going to happen. And so I kicked her out. She went MIA from then.
It was shortly after that's when she realized that she lost everything that quick.
Yeah.
And opened her eyes, and I think that if you would have let her, you were enabling her to do so. Sometimes you got to put a stop to it, and tough love is hard to deal with, because you got to have a solid heart to deal with that, because at any time that you're giving that tough love, something could happen to that person.
Yes.
And then you're in regret forever.
Yes. And in my head, I'm like, I really worked hard for what I have, and to escape that kind of environment, I'm not going to let it come in my home.
It was a rough ride growing up, and now that I have my son, he's 20, and it scares me too. Now this generation they're lost, and so now I feel like I'm back on my eggshells again, trying to maintain work, and then trying to raise my daughter, not to be a statistic or to follow any footsteps, to be her own person. And then I taught Isaiah that as well growing up, but at the end of the day, they're gonna pick and choose what they want, whether they want to follow your footsteps, and the footsteps that you broke that chain of addiction or of gangs or whatever it might have been, or if they want to go and follow whatever's out there in the world. And right now this generation they're lost, and they need a lot of help. But there's like I said, there's only so much that I could do, and at the end of the day, a lot of them got to learn on their own. They got to learn for themselves. Like Mom learned for herself, Stephen learned from himself.
Yeah.
There was nothing that we could do to change that person.
Right.
You want change, you're gonna change on your own.
On their own time.
You're not gonna change for me, you're not gonna change for that, you're gonna change for yourself. You could be a better person, so you could be a role model for others.
Yes. Yeah.
But, I have talks, even with my older cousins, I have talks, and they're like, dude, you need to be a counselor.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm here for you guys, and it's my point of view. Might not be the point of view you want to hear, but from experience dealing with everything I dealt with growing up to what life can be if you really, stay in a straight line and achieve your dreams and your goals.
And what I think too, it's like this whole podcast isn't about like success is not measured financially, but measured in, are you living a clean, healthy life? It takes a lot of work to come from a background where we came from and not make those decisions, those choices, those bad choices.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
growing up, I was a teenager. Like I said, I kicked it with people from gangs. I've been at parties where I've got jumped, almost stabbed, knocked out. I've been in that situation, fights, and I did my part growing up. I was no saint. I was at one point a driver for my friends that were breaking in cars, and I did my little dirt that I did growing up, but then I stopped to realize, is this what I really want? And then as soon as I started working and I bought my first car, karma hit. First day I put a new radio system in, the next day it was stolen. My car got broken into, and I started realizing, you know what? Everything's going to come back and bite me in the butt for what I did growing up. I've done my little share of selling little 10 bags of weed growing up to help Mom out, but that wasn't who I was. Again, I was trying to follow what was glorified out in the real world. That didn't last none but 2 or 3 weeks. And I said, I don't want this for my life, and there's something I experienced. I didn't like it, and I didn't want to be no part of it.
Yeah. And you made the change.
And I made the change, and
yeah. And that's what counts though, is people think like, oh, I already messed up, might as well, this is the way I'm supposed to go. And if you think about the change and you really want to make it, take the step and make it happen.
That's it. It's easier to dig your hole, but it's hard to get out. Once the dirt's over, it's harder to get out, But I just feel that if you're fighting a drug addiction, get help.
Yes.
Like, just get help, because there's no other better feeling. I don't care what drug you're taking. There ain't no other better feeling than living a sober life.
So before we end, I just want to touch base a couple things that I want people to get from this interview today. Is number one, the importance of extended family. People who are seeing other kids in situations, step in. Even if it's just for an hour, even if it's just for a conversation, even if it's just, hey, do you need food? Do you need shampoo? Do you need whatever? Do you need hygiene? How are you doing? You know, because you never know if that kid is waiting for someone to ask them how they're doing.
Exactly.
Number one, step in. Number two, don't blame the person, blame the addiction. Right?
Yes.
I think that's helped us a lot.
Yeah. What happens when you blame the person, you start to hate the person. Mm-hmm. But you know who the person really is without the addiction, because you've known the person before the addiction. Mm-hmm. So if you blame the addiction, you find another way to approach how to help and have a relationship with that person.
Yes. This is a good one. You cannot work harder than the person who needs help.
Exactly.
You give them the resources. If they take it, great. If they don't, that's on them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. We'll leave it on that. If it gets to the point where you're doing more work than they are, it's time to let it rest. Let them get where they need to get. So when they're ready, they can ask for help. But like you said, leave the door open. We're here when you're ready.
That's right.
Good job. Give me 5. Thank you so much, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you guys, that's going to sum up part 2 of this 2-part series here with my brother Santiago. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate the support. And always remember, winging it and winning is a mindset, and only you have the power to create your best life. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.